Well, good evening, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. Uh, it's a it's a humid Saturday night here in Cairns. Uh, yeah, it's very hot, so hopefully you won't hear the fan blaring too much beside me. It's very warm tonight, but not as warm or humid down in on the Gold Coast, who I have the pleasure of having a good chat with my friend Glynis tonight. Glennis and I had known each other for a few years now. We both studied when we were doing our diploma in mental health. So that's how we met up and we've become close friends since. And G's down on the Gold Coast. And I do believe it's a bit stormy down there at the moment.
It is indeed.
Yeah, yeah. So hopefully that will pass and we'll have no internet issues. We did try and catch up last week, but it just wasn't working for us. I thought let's not worry about that. Let's refocus and we'll have a chat tonight. So, G, welcome to the channel. So,
Oh, thank you.
thanks for taking the time to have a chat. Now, I know you're very passionate about mental health,
Love it.
and when I started thinking about this, I thought, yeah, I'm definitely going to have a chat with G and get her opinion and stuff about what really drives her passion for mental health and men's health, and not just men's health, but we're talking about women's health as well, obviously. Um, I try to, obviously what I do with breast cancer awareness and Movember is very close to my heart. And I want to obviously make people aware of what I do, and what I try and do within the community. I know you've had a lot of health issues in the past, and if you want to chat on that, we can. But that was probably a while ago, I think, that you had that. But when we're talking about mental health, can I just get like a an idea of the what really drives you? Because I know you're very passionate about what you do, and I'd love to get your opinion on that.
Yeah, so I started at a really young age. So it was like I had the counselor as the mother, the father, and myself. So I had to learn that way. And being like around people, I listened all the time and I had an understanding of what I could, suggest to help ease their stress of their life. And so it just formed into who I was, and how I see and reflect life, because everything is about beauty of learning to be stress free.
Mm.
But yeah, so it plays a major role in my life. So
Yeah, and it's good that you touch on that. Like stress free, I know life isn't easy for anybody. Just sometimes for a lot of people, just getting out of bed is hard. And a lot of the conversations I've had with people, and especially the women that I've spoken with, a lot of people don't have a kind of a direction on where to start. Where do they go to? Who can they get support from?
exactly. And so I deal more along the lines of the spiritual health, because it comes all into the balance and how we see things. And so again, it is a topic that, by getting and speaking the healing of everything, that people become more aware and adjust to the emotion and love it, instead of trying to hide it away from ourselves. And so, by getting people to open up about their journeys, is to learn to love themselves more and feel comfortable, and
Mm.
it just releases the way that we feel about it. And so,
Yeah, yeah, and I think the way that people feel about themselves, if they've and I think it comes down to a lot when you're talking about the physical side as well as the mental side. But then what you're
100%.
talking about is like the spiritual side as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it kind of all balances within each other. And I'm right in saying that.
100%. And so that's the alignment when it comes to, motivating people to, see themselves in a better light with the self-care, and speaking about it, because you are valid and you are important. And so
Mm.
by just understanding that and moving, and shifting that energy of self, that yeah, it all comes in with how we come together and share the knowledge. So
Yeah, and a lot of like, me, I'm a very spiritual person. I have been for a very long time. Um, I try and incorporate a lot of meditation throughout my day in the mornings. Even if it's just for a couple of minutes, sitting at my desk at work just to kind of focus and then move on with the day because my day can get pretty stressful.
Yep.
But when
And
we're talking about that, a lot of people like kind of dismiss the spiritual side of things. They
100%.
think it's just all mumbo jumbo bullshit and sitting in the corner, on a mantra for like 10 hours, umming away in the corner. What, what, uh,
Exactly.
so what's your opinion on that?
So again, it's the way that, our community, our society has, labeled itself in the general aspect of spiritual way that we see ourselves. By taking that time out and giving yourself that breathing, that mental clarity away from the stress, it actually helps us think about what we truly want, and where we're guiding to. And we keep forgetting that we don't need all these modalities. We need to do the breathing and the fresh air and the movement to clear all that gunk. And so when we start to fully engage in that, and not the actual trend of what's been out there, because that's how we're programmed or known to think of. But when we sit with self and do our little meditations or do our breath work or just be and just have that time out, it shifts so much. And then you get that little bit of inspiration and then a little bit more inspiration. And so I like to try and see a little bit more of, people coming together and just going, it does make a difference and it does save lives. And so,
Yeah, yeah, that's it. Um, when we're talking about that, like obviously you're based around the Gold Coast area.
yeah.
What's the support around the community like when it comes to the spiritual side of mental health? I know there's a lot of excuse me, I know there's a lot of support around there for mental health, but is there one specifically focused on the spiritual side of things, trying to get a good balance within yourself?
Oh, 100%. And I always refer back to like the law of health of the universe. So it's sunshine, movement, keeping up on fluids. And that is the spiritual way. It's nothing to do with all these modalities that people bring in when we have, like, healthy eating routines, or just doing that 10-minute walk or having that 5-minute break away from things. That is an actual bringing back into self. And so people think it's a very elaborate thing to create, but it takes patience and practice, like meditation, to still the mind and let it breathe, because we're always thinking all the time.
Yeah, that's it. And in our society, like yeah, you kind of nailed it on the head there that we're always thinking, we're overthinking things, we're not taking a step away from within ourselves to just kind of step back a bit and just like, be within your own self and just focus on yourself. And especially if you're having trouble, well, and before I say anything else, I like to just make sure that obviously people understand that we are not professionals. This is our own opinion on what we do and what we have seen in practice. But when we're talking about someone who's homeless or someone who's jobless or going through a little bit in their life, taking a step back a bit and just kind of refocusing on what's important in that time because like you said people overthink a lot and then it's like well let's just just step back a bit and go right what's even if you just write yourself a list of a couple of things and then just focus on that just to get yourself back to where that you need to be. That's what I
Yeah.
think anyway.
Yeah, reflecting is such a good thing. Being a Cancerian, I reflect on like my throughout my week, like I did the best that I can. And when you reframe into that way of being, like you go, but I'm doing my best, and then it becomes better and your energy becomes back again because you're actually saying to yourself something positive. And so the same thing is reflecting, going, wow, that was tough, instead of saying, wow, things are not working out for me. I'm overstimulated by too much energy or too many people or sounds. Just to go out to nature and just that silence. Sometimes silence is the best medicine as well. And
Yeah, yeah, and even like being by yourself, just getting away from people, or like going down to the beach where you are. There's amazing beaches there, and they're not always busy. Now you can find a quiet spot and just sit back, even if I'm a massive believer in it, and getting up early. I get up early all the time. I'm an early riser. I hate sleeping in. Anything past 5 o'clock in the morning is not good. I'm up. But when you're part of the stage, obviously I'm up north, you're down the bottom.
yep.
It's a beautiful part. Like at the moment, like the sun's up at 5 o'clock in the morning. It's light. Um, you know, Pretty much. You get a lot of things done, but then you can kind of just focus on your day. I think a lot of people, in my understanding what I've seen, people expect things immediately. They expect things to happen at the drop of a hat. Unfortunately, life doesn't work like that sometimes.
100%. And so silent meditations is something that I always do. And so when I say to myself, what do I need to focus on? And then I go back into like just a meditation, can be 5 minutes, can be as long as you need. Your self will feel it. And then you start to focus on the little things because it's the smaller steps that make the bigger picture. And you're right. So many people want this quick fix of and I call it spiritual bypassing. And so that means not feeling the emotion, not loving the emotion, and understanding it, whether you have to write it, whether you want to sing it, whether you feel it in your energy to move with it, to fully engage. And then you start to realize, hey, it's not so bad after all. And then
Yeah,
it just becomes a bit more easier and gradual. And then you start to see people come and say, hey, are you okay? Because then they start to, feel your energy shift or feel the way that, oh, that person's taking care of themselves. That is a part of taking care of self, is actually sitting by yourself and learning to love the peace and quiet
mm,
of self. We always think that we have to be around music or all this stuff. And, it's really the stillness in self where you feel at peace within. And then you
yeah,
start to go, oh, I feel something, inspiring. So,
yeah. And I think the Gold Coast is like it can be like a double-edged sword sometimes, because one, you've got these beautiful beaches and you've got this beautiful hinterland that you can go in and go to a retreat. There's plenty of retreats in there that you can go through. You can find a somewhere quiet in the rainforest that you can chill out. But then on the flip side, you've got the nightlife, you got the high rises, you got schoolies, which is probably happening now or very close to happening.
oh, you
Um,
just reminded me of it.
I just remembered about that then. Long. My kids have been out of school for years now, so it doesn't really affect me anymore. But it's having that that two sides to the coin. You've got beautiful beaches, you got beautiful hinterland that you can go and retreat yourself and just chill out. But then on the other side, you've got this hustle and bustle of these people, beautiful bodies walking along the beach, getting fit and being seen, and you got nightlife and sky rises and traffic and the hustle and bustle of people. So it's kind of understanding your balance of where you can be and how it fits in with your mental health. A lot of
100%.
people try and, I've never been a fan of the Gold Coast, I'll be honest with you, but
Join the club, but I live here.
yeah,
So
I think the Sunshine Coast is a bit more my scene. But
chill.
in saying that, the I've been down the Gold Coast a few times over the last couple of months, and it's kind of warming to me a little bit. I can see the appeal for people there, and I can definitely see the support around there. There's a lot of support around there for people who have got mental health issues that I can see, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I've seen that support out there, and there's plenty of people like yourself trying to get people to really focus on their own mental health, and that's great, and you should be commended for that and keep doing the great work that you're doing. But it's definitely not for people, certainly, and I think the impact that it can have on people, thinking that, okay, relatively, it's not a capital city, but there's enough of a impact to try and make a life out of living on the Gold Coast. But then you're looking at obviously expenses and stuff like that, which is living expenses, which is all over the place really. So people kind of need to weigh up their emotions and what they're dealing with. And I think that's across the board wherever you are. You could make a name for yourself wherever you are, but it's kind of getting in that right headspace.
100%. It's what I see like within the mental health frame, especially here, because I've moved twice and I came back here because of family, is that you need to be honest with self. Like you need to maintain self, like what you want, because the Gold Coast is also about image. And so that's that double-ended sword that you feel is that looks can be deceiving, and it's the energy that makes you feel like you want to be fit in, but we weren't all born to be fitting in. And so when you try and be your authentic self, the images come out, and so it tends to make us feel, oh, I'm not good enough, or I need to, be of an image to fit in, and it does. It overwhelms and affects the mind health,
Mm.
and how we see ourselves. So, yeah,
And you definitely noticed that when I was down there last week. I wasn't right at surface. I was just in a bit, but even then, a kind of quieter area of the coast, you're still seeing those body conscious people, and that image that you're talking about, it can definitely have an impact. I think it it's taken me a while to get to how I perceive myself image wise, and obviously, you've seen me through a transition of when I wasn't pink and when I was prior to that and stuff like that. Um, me personally, I don't give a rat's ass what people think about me and how they perceive me. I've had some interesting conversation with lots of people about how I look. Some I'm thinking, oh, how is this going to turn out? But it kind of turns out positive because you never know.
you
And
never know.
and
Yeah.
yeah, and when I'm walking down the street, get plenty of people notice. They honk the horn, they yell out. Honestly, a lot of the time it's just bullshit, so I just ignore it. But
Yeah.
then, if people come up to me and want to talk about it, I'm absolutely happy to talk about how I look and what I do. And
Yeah.
hopefully that conversation obviously sparks something in that person to get
100%.
themselves checked out for breast cancer, for example. When was the last time you got yourself checked out?
Yeah, you just reminded me.
Right. So you
But
need to get yourself checked out.
But that's another thing that I wanted to say with you is that when people do come up and ask, you never know who you're inspiring, because we always think that, we got to have this targeted audience, we have to be a certain way. But you could say something to somebody and you can literally change their world by just being you. And that's why when I teach people, be your authentic self, your quirky self, like, being of a very high conscious. I have gone up against people who go, why do you speak like that? And I said, because like my value of myself is myself, not you. And I'm not here to lower the standards, not in an egotistical way. It's because I value myself and how far I've come and achieved, like yourself. And so I've had to go up against a lot of people who, saw me in this way of going, you know, just because I am who I am and I have these abilities to help people does not mean that I'm out to, influence. I'm always there to inspire, and being inspiring to people, that's what makes a difference, not influencing people.
Yeah, and that's you might encounter somebody that you're inspired, but then again you might not. You just never know.
Yeah, it's
Good
that
good friend.
double-edged sword.
Well, I see about a good friend of mine who I had a conversation with earlier.
Yeah.
Someone inspired him. Uh, you know, no, he inspired somebody else, and he didn't realize that until they came up and actually spoke to him about it. And it's like, dude, you never know what impact you're having on somebody, whether you know it or not. The
100%.
conversation I've told, well, the story that I've told people many times, and I'll tell you as well, is when I had that interaction with the 8-year-old girl. When I was at the local shopping centre waiting for somebody, she came up to me with her mum and she wanted to talk to me about the pink. I think I just had it done. It was like the next day, so it was at its brightest, and
I love it.
and she had seen me and just wanted to talk, and she said, "Oh, are you happy to talk to my daughter?" I said, "Of course I am." And then just spoke to her about, I said, "Hey, do you know what Movember is?" And she said, "No." So I said, "That's cool. This is what it does for men's health and stuff like that." And then, do you know about women's health? Because women suffer from some pretty nasty diseases. And then we talked about breast cancer, but we didn't go into too much detail because I'm talking to an 8-year-old girl, so her understanding of it may not be at the level that we're talking about it. So it
Yeah.
was more about the impact of seeing somebody who's in his 50s wearing pink, and she's probably never seen that. So it was that impact that she's had on just seeing somebody that she can, talk to her friends about or talk to her school about or, have conversations with her mum about and stuff like that. So, probably 10 years down the track, she'll never think about it again. But it's being in at that moment in time has made a massive impact on her life, and you just never know how it could impact her life in the future. You just never know.
100%.
Um,
100%. And that's the healing power of, just opening up and not, shutting yourself down. And because that's shutting yourself down about being authentically yourself. And we all have to experience it at one stage or another. And like I support the men's health because I saw it in my father and then I saw it in my brother. And I see it around in people that do support. And I try and help them to the best ability to see the potential and the effect that you have on everyone. You're just as important as the feminine side as well. So, and there's a lot of, mental health increase between the masculine and feminine. So I'm a masculine feminine energy, and I do get attacked by a lot of women, but also have a lot of male friends. So there's an imbalance in a way of looking at the mental health because sometimes we overwork ourselves that we don't see the stress. And so when I started to learn to nurture the masculine side of myself, because again, if we don't show up for the masculine as well, then there's an unbalance. And so when I even saw it with my brother, who was very suicidal, while looking after my father, I took all that, on to myself to try and help. And so I wanted him to see like what he was doing and helping. But yeah, so he's overcome that, and I'm very grateful for that. So
Yeah, how is your brother? He's all right now?
yeah, I haven't like really spoken with him because obviously he lives his own life. But I always try and check in on him. I love checking in on people. It's part of like who I am. I always check in every day on social media to make sure that the collective are good. Because I understand the energy when you come near people, it may set you off a little bit. Sometimes we don't know that that person's energy is not for us, and so that will come into play once people become more aware of their own mind health and their own energy and what they want to give out. And so
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. And how you been? I know last time I spoke to you, you weren't really
I was
in a
going through
good
the bottle of.
in a good minds, but you're okay now.
Oh, definitely. So I went through having to stand up for myself, especially because there is so much that you can handle in a way of balance, and I'm always about balance. So just because I'm high conscious does not mean I need to be attacked for who I am, while I'm trying to help educate people, because they feel like they know better. I had to step back and just go, you know what, I'm doing the mature thing. I don't need to, lower my standards. But I learned, I was grateful for myself to stand up to somebody and see their true colors. They weren't really supportive. They weren't about mental health. They were trying to be something that it was, yeah, it just affects you. Because when you're dedicated to helping and supporting people, and you get like, sort of attacked for it. That yeah, I had to learn it. So that it's a chapter where it closed off, and I'm very grateful because it made me realize, who are my people who love the support, who goes from heart space, and so I love, so passionate about it that yeah, I want that type of people around that can open up.
Yeah,
So,
that's it. Having that, I don't have a massive circle of friends,
oh, really do I? Yeah.
but there's a small circle of friends that support me over the years, and I class you as one of those friends as well.
Thank you.
Um, it's knowing who to reach out to and who you can ask for support. A lot of people just don't like doing it when it comes. Like the bottom line is, a lot of people don't want to do it or feel uncomfortable doing it. But I think that's that first step. When you're talking about support for people and having like a mental health plan put in place for people, whether it be male or female, young or old, boys, girls, whatever their age is, having that good support from family is definitely does help, and that's why I instill good family support with my sons, because they know they can reach out to me anytime if they got any dramas, whether that be whatever the case is, whatever the case is. If they want to talk about things, we'll talk about things and kind of go through it logically, and not be rational about it, and just go through the steps and go, right, okay, let's do this, let's look at this option, blah blah blah, whatever the case is. So having that support there, definitely from family. I know it's a bit difficult for you when it comes to that, but having that, and then in your case, would be kind of having that support network from your friends, which definitely helps. And you want to be surrounded by the people that have value in your life. You don't want to deal with the shit. Why deal with the shit if that's going to bring you down? So
Exactly.
move away from the shit.
Yeah. And so you feel like, and how are your sons anyway?
Hey,
How are your sons? They were
yeah,
like,
yeah, they're good.
yeah,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
it's been like
yeah, they're
four
good. Yeah.
years.
Hey,
So it's been like 4 years. I was looking back on things and I'm like, "Hey, 4 years already. Wow. You
yeah,
know,
yeah, yeah, yeah. They're 21 and 22. So,
wow, they grew up so quick. And that's what I mean. When you just mentioned as well, because what I've noticed a lot is, especially in support, is they only give like a narrative approach. They don't give the options of, feeling into what do you feel, what would you like, instead of going, you can do this, and it makes you feel like they have to do it, which again can intimidate the energy of self. And when you pull back, it's just like saying, I'm not comfortable with that. A lot of people are not understanding body languages as well. And so I liked when you said, I like to give options to people, because giving options meaning that you're not being controlled or forced or anything. So
Yeah, and people can be very, well, I wouldn't say narrow-minded, but they can be very just focused on one thing. They've got their blinkers on, they've got the blinders, and they're just tunnel vision. They're just looking, and they just got one option in mind, and that's it. They're not thinking about this. They're not thinking about
quick
that.
fix,
What
but
happens
it's
if the one thing that you're focusing on doesn't work? You got to have options. You got to look at the bigger picture when it comes to supporting yourself mentally, physically,
emotionally.
emotionally. And when we're talking emotionally, obviously, I think we're talking about spiritually as well. When we're talking about your emotions,
100%.
having that understanding of your own self belief and what you can do.
100%. And that's true, because when because as you know, I read cards and all that. I don't actually read cards, I just read souls. And so when it comes to form of healing, because I am a very different empath, I'm a Hayeko empath, so it's a very native Indian empath. And because I see the wounds of people, so universe or source, whatever people preference it to, I say healing comes from all different things. It can be coming from a cup of coffee and speaking. It can come from food, because maybe your body needs that nutrition. It can come with just sitting by yourself at the beach, getting a bit of salt, getting a bit of sun, to see how it recharges the energy. It is about, going to do something different in our community, like going to watch a movie that's funny. Um, you know, Taking yourself seriously is another good form of healing, which is like mirror work, which is something that I had to do through. Obviously, you knew my journey through health. I had nobody, so I would always, being a cancer, we're about reflecting and mirror work. And so when you're honest to yourself, you start to feel your own energy. And
Yeah,
so that's a thing that brought me back into saying to myself, my emotions are valid. Every single emotion, whether it's good, bad, ugly, or not, it's still valid. And to feel it and then go, what can I give and heal myself with? What self-care can I do to help myself get through this? And then you watch people going, I love the inspiration. I love your dedication to self, and then people want to get to know you. And it forms a way of people opening up. And so I'd like to see a little bit more of like that sort of energy come forth. And, you certainly hold that energy to do that as well. Um,
yeah. Sometimes it's just having that, I want to say understanding, just have that approach to talking. Once you kind of get a conversation started with somebody, then you never know where it will lead to.
100%.
Um, a lot of the conversations I've been having with people over the month have been definitely therapeutic, I think, for themselves, but 100% for me as well. Some have definitely been heavy. Some I've had to have a have a rest from it, just have a break, refocused, and then look at the next conversation, listen to who I'm talking to, stuff like that, like yourself, for example. They're definitely been a positive experience, and I think this is something I should have done a long time ago, but it, who knows where it will lead to, whether it's something within myself, within that other person, like, opening up and talking about something that you don't normally talk about with somebody, you know, it's good for the soul.
It 100% is. And again, like yeah, you've just explained it perfectly as what I say to people, like healing through words, and knowing that either you can do it together, and do things that may contribute to supporting the community of what you're doing now, or showing up for self and being courageous, like doing your hair pink, because people go, oh, like, where's he go to pink? Like, even for me, I was just like going, I love that idea, go for it, because I'm very bold, and I like statements. And so having that statement about this is what I'm actually about. And so then people don't have that, I don't know, they can have their perspectives on self, but then they will go, you're actually doing everything of your energy and what you represent. And that's what we like to see in a community, is people, just being themselves, and
Yeah,
yeah,
that's it.
place.
Yeah, and
So
generally when I do things, I don't go in. I go all the way in. I don't half-ass about it.
yeah, exactly. There's
And
no
that's why
point
I got.
coming
And
off
that's why
in.
I've got the tattoo
I
as
was gonna
well.
say I love the design. Absolutely love it. So
Yeah, I've got a little bit more work to go on it, and it's kind of there's the hair growing back, so it's not as uh impacted, should say, but it's
yeah,
definitely noticeable. So, but yeah,
very noticeable. Yeah, I love it.
it's you know what I've always said to my boys. I said no hands, no heads, but
Yeah,
yeah, they can't come back to me and say, well, you said no head. Well, no face. I think no face. Head is fine, but no face. But I can't. They're adults. They can do what they want. Um, that's the conversation we have. When they're looking at tattoos, it's like, well, let's talk about what you're going to get, and
yeah,
how it looks on your body, and remember it's a permanent thing, and that's why I didn't. Well, when I was having my the modeling for the photo shoot, when I had temporary tattoo put on my head and my hands, as soon
yeah.
as I saw my head, I just went, yeah, nah, that has to happen, and I made it happen. It was a while before it happened. There was obviously lots of conversations and lots of design and lots of thinking about it and making sure it was the right design and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But there's still probably another couple of hours to go on it. So stay tuned for another conversation that I'll have with my tattooist while he's tattooing my head. I'll have that conversation with him at the same time. So stay tuned for that.
Did it hurt? I have to ask, like,
Oh
did it?
yeah, it did. Like definitely. Oh yeah, because that part of your body is like that skin there is very um you know
Yep.
it can be open up to the environment. The sun, as soon as you walk outside, it's going to hit your head
Yeah.
unless you're wearing a hat. So it's very sensitive. And there was a couple of times when I was going to tap out, go, man, no, I can't do it. I can't do this. But it was pretty full on. So hopefully, when we have that conversation, which is going to be soon, um, yeah, I'm going to have to deal with it. But it'll be 2 hours of for a little bit longer.
Yeah.
But that's okay.
He's like, I'm just numb now.
Yeah, that's it. Nah, it's all good. All right, G. I'm going to leave you alone because it's getting a bit late in the evening, so I want to let you get on with the rest of your night. But I do
Thank
want
you.
to thank you for allowing me to have this chat with you this evening. I really do appreciate it.
Oh,
I
well,
know
thank
you
you
got a
for
lot of.
inviting me.
No, that's fine. I know you got well. As soon as I thought of this, thought I've got to get Glynis. Um, so I appreciate you taking the time, having a chat. It's been
Thank you.
a very thoughtful conversation. We've steered around different aspects when we're looking at mental health, not obviously just the physical and mental, but obviously the spiritual side of things. And it has a massive impact on people. So a lot of people don't think about that. They think it's just mumbo jumbo bullshit, but it has an impact on your life. And yeah, I really appreciate your time this evening.
Thank you.
No, it's all good.
Enjoy the rest of your humidity because it's humidity down here after this storm.
Oh yeah, it'd be pretty humid down there if you've had a massive thunderstorm come through.
Storm, yeah. So
All right,
we're in storm season.
that's it. That's it. You're gonna get those. So that's what I think I miss up here is that we don't get many electrical storms, so you get a few down there.
Yeah, we got the storms, so but they only come and go quickly. So again, I like to enjoy it because it gives it peace and quiet. And yeah, that's why I got my pajamas on because I was like, you know what? I'm doing something for my mental health, the mental stress and the chaos from all the traffic and school holidays and graduation and yeah, I just wanted to, embrace in relaxation. So
Awesome.
and thank you again. And yeah, so keep up the good work.
Yeah, you too, eh? You too.
Thank,
All
thank
right, mate. Speak to you soon, eh?
thank you.
Bye.